Welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Olson, co-host Terry Terwito, and today we have a special guest in David Meyer from RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for coming on, David. It's a pleasure. Terry and David, you guys have been working together for a year now plus?
Yeah, a year plus maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Kind of worked out pretty nice. We met actually through your boss, Ryan O'Neill, when my wife had an inclination that she wanted a bed and breakfast one day.
Yep.
and
That's right.
Ryan goes, I got a guy for you.
Yeah.
And that's how David and I met.
Oh, that's how the connection
That's
came
how the
through.
connection
That's
came.
right.
And then
fantastic.
next you know, then like I said, then I was doing loans, and then I reached out to David, like, just remember me, you know.
Yeah. Right.
And now it turned out we worked
Yeah,
pretty
we
good
went
together.
up to that old jailhouse inn up in Taylor's Falls. That little
Such a cool place.
tiny B&B up there. It is a neat place.
God, it was a
you
cool
know.
place.
They're
And
about to. There's a gal working on a project up there. It's going to be a 36-unit hotel.
Really?
Yeah, boutique
Wow.
hotel. That's going to be really nice.
Cool.
It'll be at the far north end of the strip there in Taylor's Falls. So something they need up there. They don't
I
have
haven't been to
anything
Taylor's Falls in a while. Has there been some growing things? Because like in the last 10 years, Stillwater went from like this to
Right.
like this. You
Yeah,
know,
not
and
so
it
much.
was-
No, it's still
It's
pretty
still-
small.
it's still a little bit
So
off.
if you were there 10 years ago and you went up right now, it's
the
about
the
same.
same, about the same.
Not
Maybe
much
a new
different.
bar.
Right, right.
Yeah, the Chisago house closed, so that'll be interesting to see what ends up going in there. Takes over that. That's the restaurant right on the corner, the blue building right
Oh,
on the
that's
corner
right.
at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, that
So
closed.
that one had closed, and somebody will take that over. I thought that's where the restaurant or the hotel was going to go because that would be an ideal spot for it, but you'd have to tear that down in order
Right.
to do that. So
Yeah.
It's just a nice little city, though. You know,
It is.
It's quaint, and
yeah,
you know,
cool town.
it's always busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, this time of year it gets super busy.
yeah, fall
The
colors.
fall.
and-
Fall. Now the leaves are gone after
it's
yesterday.
great.
After
whatnot,
that wind, yeah.
regardless. Well, anyway, back to you, David. So a lot of times we want to really spotlight our referral partners and bring you in just to, number one, just to get to know you a little bit better, and maybe some of our listeners and so forth. So here, it looks like you have a bachelor's and master's in health and physical education, and it sounds like you've been an educator for some years then, huh?
Yeah. I started out in education a lot of years ago, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I love the coaching aspect of it, and love teaching and working with kids. One of the big advantages to being in phys ed and health is that you do tend to see the kids every year.
Right.
So they grow with you, and
Right.
by year 3 you're going, yeah. You know what, Terry? You're not getting away with that this year.
That's awesome.
Because you know them well enough.
Right,
You
right.
know, and so that I miss about education is
Sure.
working with the kids because
Right.
it was great. But I started investing. Well, if you count my first house all the way back in 1991, which was a little rambler in Richfield that I had 2 guys living with me and paying the mortgage for
Right.
me. So.
Perfect.
House hacking before there was a term called house
Right,
hacking,
sure.
but so that's kind of where I started with it years ago. And then the early 2000s, my wife and I started buying single families and got a few of those built up, and then eventually sold those off, moved into apartments. We got a couple apartment buildings now and looking for more.
Nice.
So,
That's
yeah.
and we've done a couple episodes on house hacking and like different investment opportunities. So it's great to actually have someone that comes in with experience and explains or can say like this is what happened over the last 20 plus years, right?
Right.
So it really goes a long ways for people out there in understanding. I mean, I wish I would have done that years ago.
Right.
Unfortunately, I didn't, so I'm late to the game. But
Right.
but it's never really too late, right? So I mean, you can always get going on it, and
Right.
but you've made you had renters in the house, had single families, and now you got the apartments. So, and then let me ask you about that too, just for other people's curiosity as well. You have to, in order to get into apartments, and unless you're paying cash for them, is there like do you finance them at all, or?
Yeah, so typically, most of the time, if you're doing something that's 5 or more units, it's going to be on a commercial loan.
Right.
If you're borrowing money, depends on the bank you're working with. and much better to be local on those than it's easy to get onto Wells Fargo and do a home loan, and
Right.
it's much better to use somebody like you guys where you can shop for that buyer and find them the best deal you can give them in terms of rates and fees and all that kind of fun stuff. Whereas those big guys like Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank, they just have one product. That's
Right.
it. Here's what
That's
we
it.
offer you, and you take what we
Take it
give
or
you,
leave
and take it or leave
Sure.
it. And then when you call, you're likely not going to get hold of me. So,
Right.
which was, and I had several homes through Wells Fargo,
Sure.
so.
Sure.
But it's on the commercial side of things, it's really important to have good relationships with the banks wherever you're working.
Right.
So whether you're local, staying close to home, or you're investing elsewhere. Like I'm looking at some stuff down in Houston now, Houston, Texas.
Sure.
The guys that I'm working with, they've got established relationships down there with local banks down there,
Right.
which is the right way to do it if you're going to do it, because they'll tend to give you better rates. They'll tend
Sure.
to give you a better deal. Like the bank we work with now on the commercial side of things, we get 20% down versus 25% down,
Nice.
which helps. You
Right.
don't have
Yeah.
to bring as much to the table. You can afford a little bit more.
Sure.
So,
Right. Right. That's that goes a long ways.
Yeah.
5% depending on what that purchase price is.
absolutely.
Million,
Absolutely.
2 million.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
the math. It's
Right.
That's a bit.
Yeah.
Right on.
You start
How
getting
many
up there.
units do you have currently?
So between my three partners and I, between all three of us, I don't know, we're at, I want to say 65 or so.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Look at
but I'm not in on all of those, and they're not in on all mine. So,
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
we're a little bit diversified in that
Yeah.
regard. So I've got one single family left that's up at in Duluth next to the campus, the UMD campus. It's like the
Perfect.
6-house inn. It's
That's not
You
going
have a
anywhere.
tough time renting that one out?
no, it's just it's one of those. My kids lived in it. We bought it when my kids were going to school up there because I
Yeah.
looked at what they were going to charge for room and board and said, why would we pay you when I can have people paying me?
100%.
So we bought it, and it was a 2-bedroom. We completely renovated the basement, closed off the tuck under garage,
Sure,
and turned it into a 5-bedroom. And it works really well.
Awesome.
It's hard to give up.
Sweet.
And I'll bet I haven't spent $1,000 on that place in the last 3 years.
Even,
Yeah.
even
Because they
better.
take good care of it, you know.
That's good.
And like you say, I don't have to find renters because
Right.
2 of them move out, they go find 2 more.
Yeah.
Right.
they want to
They
know.
find their own friends.
That's
yeah.
right, because they
Yeah.
want people they want to live with. So that really
Well, and
helps
that's
in
just-
that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Non-stop.
It's just
year
cyclical.
after
Right.
year
I've
after
only
year.
had 1 year where there was only 1 left, and she had to find 4 people, and she did. She got
That's
4.
It's
of
her
them,
choice of who then.
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
the ball's in her court, which
Yeah.
makes things even better then.
Yeah.
You know,
So
that's
yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so I started with the investing stuff in the early 2000s. In 2016, I was just kind of ready to be done with education after 28 years. I had spent 12 years as a school administrator, principal, athletic director, activities director, assistant
Sure.
principal, dean of academics. I have had several different titles. And the move to real estate was just kind of natural because it does allow me to continue to educate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm with RE/MAX Advantage Plus and the Minnesota real estate team, of course, with Ryan O'Neill and the radio show guys, and our little Meyer property group. I've got a small group of agents that I'm working with now, building a small team. I really don't want more than 10 or 12 at the most.
Right.
And I'm only taking people that are brand new to the business.
Right.
Which
'Cause
is, you
I-
can teach them the way you want to teach
Exactly.
them, the correct way.
Yeah, I
you
can
know.
really use my education background to educate them and help them learn how to build the business and do what's right for their clients and that kind of thing.
I've gotten a
So,
few calls from them, and you know what? You're teaching them right because they're asking the right questions
Yeah.
every time they call, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right.
nice. They're not like so outlandish. They're like, but it's you can tell when they ask me questions that they're learning too, and whatever we can do to make them better.
Right.
Well, we
which-
always want to grow,
Yeah.
right? So
grow together. Yeah.
as being a team lead from the lending side, I do the same thing. I bring in people new to the business,
Right.
And I know what it was like when I was new. So
Sure.
it
Drinking
was
from a
all-
fire hose.
That's right. That's right. It's a little shaky on the phone,
Right.
but everybody goes through those, those growing pains. And again, we grow from being able to educate them the right way. I loved how you said that.
Yeah.
That's, because a lot of people can pick up bad habits or have, some different types of mentors, and I've seen it across the board.
Right.
Dealt with lots of real estate agents, and then I'm like, oh man, how do we do this one now? Because something
They didn't learn right. Yeah.
right, you know, and then I'm trying to educate the buyer too, and try not to throw anybody under a bus either, right? So it is what it is.
It's nice too when you work with agents for a while. Like those first couple deals, you always feel like you're walking on eggshells. Now I just call you, David, I need this.
Right.
Terry, I need this.
Yeah.
Then it's done. There's no questions. Guess what? The name of the game is get it done.
Yeah.
You know, let's get it done smooth. Make that person so happy that it was the best, smoothest transition of their life to buy a house that they're like, guess what?
Yeah.
Then they tell everybody.
Well, it's interesting, Brandon, you bring up the phone, because to me, that's one of the biggest downfalls to a lot of people new in the business. They come into real estate, and a lot of them don't realize you're now your own boss.
Right.
You're not an employee of somebody else anymore. You're a separate contractor with whatever brokerage you get on with, but you're your own boss. So you got to set your own hours. You got to work your own calendar. You got to do the work in order to have success. And so many of them just think, you become an agent, you stick a sign in the yard, and people flock to you. It's not how this
You
works.
get 25 offers in a day.
Right, right. It's not how this works. Even over the last few years with the craziness of the seller's market, you had to hustle. I mean, you really had to hustle, and you worked your tail off. And I'm still doing it now. It's different. It's shifted now because the market has changed. And the work that I'm doing now is different than what I was doing a year ago. A year ago, it was scrambling, trying to keep up with everything
Right.
and making sure you don't miss anything, which is really important, because you check the wrong box, you can end up getting yourself, your brokerage, and your client sued.
Things can go south pretty quick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you got to be careful with that stuff. But it's interesting because the phone to me has never been an issue. Because I've worked as a school administrator, I had to make tough phone calls all the time
Right.
to parents that I really didn't want to talk to.
Right.
They
They don't want to hear
might
from
have
you.
been really ticked about something, but I got great advice from a gal I worked with, Sister Patricia Beckman, a long time ago, and she said, David, just remember, they're not upset at you, they're upset at the situation, which I found 97% of the time was probably true.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few times
what-
where I said some things where they were mad at me.
Right.
That's a key piece right there. They're not mad at you, they're mad at the situation. So understanding that from whether it's a real estate side, whether it's a lending side, is just and being able to take that into context. I get, things come up in transactions all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Things get uncovered that you can't uncover them until they
Last
actually
minute,
things
yeah.
happen. And there's just random things that happen, and then you have to find. I've always been the proponent is, number one, if something happens, the first thing you have to do is find all the solutions possible.
Right.
So you have a solution when you contact somebody, right? So okay, hey, this happened.
Yeah.
So
Here's the
what
facts. Here's where
what
we need to go.
Correct.
That's right.
And as long as you have that, and you can, otherwise it just kind of blows up everybody, because you might have been on the receiving end, like, hey, the lender did this, and blah 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 blah,
Right.
and now you're calling the lender, going, what the hell happened?
Right.
Right.
And they don't have the answer. So unfortunately, I learned the hard way, because that's just natural. Like, oh my God, this. So you always find that solution. Generally, there's ways to get past everything, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's just, who do you need to talk to?
Yeah.
How does it need to get done? And and there's in rare cases where it's a dead end stop,
Yeah.
job loss, something like that.
Yep.
From a lending side anyway. But
And that's something that's kind of
regardless,
out of our control too. And like what I just told you earlier, when someone called, like, I lost my job. Well, we are 100% dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I was
know?
working with a guy for 5 years. Seriously, 5 years. Probably wrote 13 different offers that didn't get accepted for one reason or another. Finally got one accepted. We're a week ahead of close, and he loses his job.
oh man,
Yeah,
Talk
just
about
unbelievably frustrating.
right.
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 And all that work, all that time
All
for
that work,
everybody.
all that time.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's kind of what we tell people here. It's like there's 10 people who touch your loan on our side. There's a process to all
Right.
this, and that's
Yeah.
like staying on timelines, staying on, so it's like,
But to your point about things happen, one of the things Ryan preaches, and that I have been hopefully teaching the folks I've been working with too, is just try to keep the emotion out of it as much
Right.
as possible. Because if you make it an emotional business,
It-
you'll burn out quick in this business.
Right. Oh,
Really
so
quick.
fast.
Too many sleepless nights the way it is, right?
Stick to the facts.
Right.
You don't, I remember I had a couple I was working with, and And she was hot-blooded, man. She could go from 0 to 1,000 in a heartbeat. And one minute they're great, they're moving forward, they're buying this property. The next minute, we're getting divorced. She's like, I'm out of here. And I'm like, I called Ryan in a panic. It was my first year in the business.
Right.
Matter of fact, it was my very first listing.
Oh, wow.
And I called Ryan in a panic. I'm like, these guys are getting divorced, and they're gonna end up losing the listing, and I'm not gonna make any money, and I'm gonna be terrible in this business, or whatever. And he's like, David, take a breath.
Right.
I said, what should I do? He said, nothing. I said, what do you mean nothing? I got to do something here, because I was in the education business. I was a problem solver.
Right. Sure.
As an administrator, I was constantly trying to solve problems, right?
Right.
He said, don't do anything. He said, just let it go, and in a couple of weeks, you'll see. It'll be fine. It'll work out the way it's supposed to. Sure enough, next time I met with them, they're lovey-dovey, holding hands, the whole deal.
This is why we drink, right?
This is why we drink.
Exactly. David, do you have any particular areas like that you work with specifically? Like, do you South Metro, Minnesota versus any Wisconsin? Do you do anything in Wisconsin at all?
Yeah, I'm licensed both. My daughter Madeline and I, who's my business partner and my technology guru, we were both licensed in Wisconsin. So,
okay.
And I've done quite a bit in Wisconsin. Everything from cabins up north to,
Sure.
We've got an apartment building right now that we just got an accepted offer on all the way over
Nice.
in Medford, which is kind of in the middle of the state.
Yeah.
And of course, stuff in Hudson and River Falls and that area. I did a
on.
commercial sale in River Falls not too long ago.
Nice.
But I've sold from now all the way over in Medford. If you drew a straight line up to Duluth, all the way up to Duluth, I've got a commercial building for sale right now in Floodwood, Minnesota, down to Battle Lake, north of Alexandria.
Yeah.
I've got another, I don't know how I get all these weird commercial ones, but I've got another little commercial, what was a truck repair business in Gibbon, Minnesota, in the southwest corner. I've done stuff in Rochester and over to Diamond Bluff, Wisconsin, on the opposite side of Red Wing down there. So yeah, I don't know how people can isolate in one area in today's world with the internet. It's because you get a lead, you don't know where they're coming from.
You don't know where they're coming from.
It says Burnsville, $60,000. They're looking for something in Brainerd for $650,000, right? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
They clicked on the wrong thing.
Right.
but they end up in your lap. So
Yeah.
Then you
So
treat them the same as everybody else. Then
You're going to be the commercial guy here. So
yeah.
Well,
we may have you
Ryan
back.
keeps
We may
trying
have
to
you
make
back a
me
few
that.
more times.
Yeah, Ryan keeps trying to make me that on the team. And I do our investor seminar, our free investor seminar that we do every month. Ryan does one month, I do the next month. It's good. It's fun to come to. We get a lot of good conversation. And he really talks about getting your toes in the water. How do you get going? What do you do, to make sure that you're successful with smaller deals like single family, duplexes, triplexes, maybe as much as a fourplex. Then I get into more of the heavier investor side of things. We talk about terms like cap rate and cash on cash and that kind of thing, and different types of commercial investing that you can do. So it's and I'm no guru at it for sure.
Well, it sounds like you have some kind of experience.
Well,
so.
but it's one of those things that one of the things that we preach on the team is just say yes, right? Because especially times like this where it's getting kind of slow right now in the real estate market, if you pass up on a lead like this restaurant up in Floodwood,
right.
Why would I pass up on that? I almost didn't call her back, and then I thought, well, you know what, let me just see what it is first. So I called her back, and sure enough, it's a $550,000 deal.
Right.
So, that's not small peanuts.
No.
If it was $50,000, that might be different. Then maybe it's not more advantageous for me to refer it to somebody up there and let them take care of it. But in this case, I said yes, and there you go.
Well, your expertise helps a lot in that. You know what I mean? Like, people start seeing that, and they're like, you know what? You're a trustworthy person who knows what he's doing. Guess what? I'd rather have that kind of person at my back than.
I'm really intrigued by agents that work with investors who don't invest themselves. I don't
Right.
I don't know
Right.
how
Right.
how do you give advice?
Right.
When you've never
You
dealt
don't-
with renters, you've never dealt with contractors, you've
Sure
never
they don't
dealt
work
with
in government?
Well, exactly. You know, I mean, that's really intriguing to me is how agents are able to have success with investors when they don't work with investors,
Right.
or they're not investors themselves.
100%
Right.
agree.
You know,
You
it's
know.
a different animal. It just is. But no, I mean, we're in the metro. I try to stay, you know, residential wise, I try to stay East Metro as much as I can because that's where I live.
Yeah.
You know, and plus that gives me the option to go over to Wisconsin. And most of our agents on the team that are over here on the west side, they don't want to deal with Wisconsin
Right.
because it's too far for them to drive.
sure.
The forms are different. It's just a different animal.
Right.
Yeah, the forms are way different.
Well,
so.
outside of traveling the state of Wisconsin and Minnesota, what do you like to do outside of that? Like you, how
Yeah.
many?
He's
you
got a
guys-
big boat he likes to go on.
Are you on the river?
Yeah, we've got we have you know, we progressed up from the 12-foot SS Leakey fishing boat that my buddy Dave and I bought for $350, and it did leak.
Yeah.
You know, just worked our way up to. We've got a boat on the St. Croix now over in Windmill Marina, so we spend a lot of time out there in the summer. It's a lot of fun. You know, take clients out, and it's a good way to, you know, just get to know people. And
Well, you can go somewhere when
a
you're
nice
on the river.
perk.
Brandon was on the river forever.
Yeah.
And he,
9 years. Had too good of an offer and too much going on this last year. So
Yep.
in March, I got a text saying, "Hey, we'll give you this for your boat," and I said, "Okay."
what kind of boat?
I had a 290 Sundancer.
Okay.
So, and I kept it right at Mulberry,
Yeah.
Stillwater Marina, right next to Pete
Yeah.
and Pappy's. So,
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Terry's been out there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
good times.
Mine's a
and
370, so yeah.
670.
370.
Oh, 370. I was at
Yeah.
670.
No,
Man, you
no,
got a
that's
barge out
huge,
there.
yeah. No, that's what my wife wants.
Right,
Yeah,
You know,
right.
No,
right.
no. This one's paid
Right.
for. I don't care if it's 20 years old.
That's
this one's
right.
paid
It still
for.
works.
Right,
Still
right.
floats.
And it works, yeah.
And it works. No,
It works.
I wanted to get a little bit bigger one, and my goal is to actually get one in like the Great Lakes and
Yeah.
bring it home through Chicago
Sure.
and up the river.
Got a friend that just did that this summer. He
Yeah.
bought one over in Michigan and, you know,
That's a pretty
went
fun
down,
trip.
did the whole through Peoria and then back up the Mississippi
Yep.
and took him 7 days. I think it was 7 or 8 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to take a few weeks and just
Just
take my
cruise.
time. That's
Yeah.
my bucket list, and I got to settle down on everything else first and actually have the time to do
There you
that.
go.
But yeah, no, I love the river, and so that's great to hear, man.
Yep.
I definitely share that. I'm surprised I didn't run into you out there over the last 9
Yeah.
years.
Well,
Probably have.
So Windmill, are you north of Stillwater then, or are you no?
Afton.
Afton.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, right in
Afton.
Afton. Okay,
Yep.
that's
yeah.
why.
And then we joined the yacht club too. That's a
Yep.
pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got buddies that belong to country club golf courses. You know, they paid $25,000-$30,000 to
Right,
join,
right,
and they've got to
right.
spend $750 a month in food and beverage. And
Right.
we joined the yacht club. It was like $3,000 to join and $750 a year.
Rather be
Right.
on the
Yeah,
on the
it's
water, and you're on the
fantastic.
water.
And then
you're
you
on the
get
water
out there,
having
you
fun.
got shore power, you got everything.
Yeah,
out
you
there.
got shore power because we got a couple beaches that the club owns, and on top of that, it's good networking. You know,
Right.
I've met some really good people, some people that are interested in looking into some investment stuff. We're thinking about forming a little group with
That's cool.
folks that are in the club. So.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't think I would be at where I am today without having. It's kind of funny you think of that. In our networking, being lenders or being real estate, the people that you get to network with out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's everybody from a local mechanic
Yep.
to a guy making $1 million a
Absolutely.
year, and they're all the same. And generally speaking, man, their attitudes are all the same.
Yeah.
Like it's just super easy. I love it out there.
Laid back, yeah.
I'm jealous this year. I wasn't out there. I was in Stillwater 3 times, but that was it.
Yep. You know, one of your questions was had something to do with how did you get started in real estate, or how did you what's a prop or something? You told me bring a prop
Yeah.
or something. Well, I don't have it anymore, but years ago I started out teaching. I was in a private Catholic school, and it was a whopping $18,000 a year. And I remember I took that paycheck and I wrote in red ink on it, "This is not acceptable," and I taped it up on my wall above my desk at home. And I just knew there was going to be a way. I was going to figure out how to be able to still be an educator and enjoy my education world, and yet still make some money on the side doing something else. that wasn't going to take all of my time,
Right.
all my free time, away from my family.
Right.
And so that's how I got into investing,
Okay.
And then I met Ryan through a friend back in 2016 who was also a broker, but he was part-time and he was an educator as well. And after I met with him and I told him I want to go full-time on this. I mean, I don't want to mess around
All
with
or
it.
nothing,
And he's like, oh, you need to talk to Ryan then.
Right.
Because I'm not going to be able to give you what he's going to be able to give you.
Absolutely.
So that's how I got into.
That's why he is
That's how
the
I get into that.
number one team.
Yeah.
In the state.
I'm
He's,
one team in the state for a lot of years straight.
Yeah, that's
Right.
great. That's a good team to be a part of.
Yeah, good group of folks.
Well,
That's a good prop though. Did you still have it?
I don't. I should have kept that thing.
Because that's
I should've, yeah.
Motivation.
Yeah, I threw it out
You
when I
know.
moved one time. So, but that was it. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome though.
Well, David, we're nearing our end of our podcast, but it's been great having you on. It's great for me to get to know you. I know you and Terry work very well together, so a lot of times it's me getting to understand the referring partners as well. So
Well, Terry's great because his ability to build a relationship really quick is fantastic.
It's like that,
yeah,
right?
It's everybody that I've sent to him has said, "Oh, what a nice guy."
Right.
It's like
The reason why he's here today. Trust me.
I try. I try.
I don't know if it's that nice, but he's a
Yeah.
nice guy.
I mean, what they say behind my back is a whole different
Right.
story.
No, but he does a really good job too. He's very thorough, so that's really helpful.
Awesome.
From my perspective, I know that I don't have to worry about what's going on the lender side.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we hope to be releasing your this podcast here soon, and with links for people to get a hold of you,
Cool.
ask you any questions. Like and subscribe, people. It's been fantastic having David Meyer from Remax on today, and signing off.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good day.
Cool.